What is a social or virtual identity? Does it really divide our real lives from our virtual ones? How do we create a virtual identity? How much privacy do we have on the web and in virtual worlds? Do we have any privacy at all? Is it possible to maintain anonymity in virtual worlds and the metaverse? Does the creation of an avatar and a virtual identity genuinely give us privacy and anonymity? All these questions and more will be answered in this video and podcast chapter of the 9 Pillars of the Metaverse, the definitive video and podcast series on the metaverse. We are dividing this video on privacy, anonymity, social and virtual identity, which is part 3 in our 9 Pillars of the Metaverse series, into 2 chapters, due to the length of the material. This is the second video chapter. To avoid confusion, this is part 3, chapter 2, of the 9 Pillars of the Metaverse series. It is highly advised you watch the 2 video chapters in order, as this second chapter assumes information and knowledge presented in the first chapter. The podcast on this subject, available on all major podcast networks, was left in one continuous part and is not divided into chapters. Hi, I am Tara. That is not my real name, but the name I use in my wanderings through virtual worlds and the metaverse. I am a co-founder of If What If. Welcome to the If What If podcast channel. If What If, the company that combines virtual reality and artificial intelligence in education, consulting, courses and development. Our motto: dream it, imagine it, create it. The possibilities are endless. The entire series, The 9 Pillars of the Metaverse, is, or will be available, as the chapters are released, in video on YouTube and Vimeo, and in podcast format, on all the major podcast directories. These 9 pillars are limitless, perpetual, immersion, social identity, anonymity, privacy, economics, digital currencies, and no central authority. In our first chapter of this series, we explained the metaverse and the first 2 pillars. These are limitless and perpetual. We devoted our entire second chapter of the 9 pillars of the metaverse to immersion and immersive technologies. It is a complex subject. This third chapter will deal with the next 3 pillars of the metaverse. These are social identity, privacy, and anonymity. For our purpose, the term social identity is synonymous with virtual identity. We will use these terms interchangeably. Again, please keep in mind that this video is part 3, chapter 2, of the 9 Pillars of the Metaverse series. Part 3, chapter 1 has already been released. So now, the entire part on privacy, anonymity, social and virtual identity in 2 chapters is available on our YouTube and Vimeo channels. Now we will move on to our next section, which is called the Anonymity Wall. In this section, we will use one specific example from a role-playing virtual world system, which has been successful for almost 20 years, to explain how one establishes a virtual identity. Just keep in the back of your mind the terms we are introducing: anonymity, pseudonyms, and now the Anonymity Wall. We will soon come upon more terms which are important in our discussion. Established by Philip Rosedale in June 2003, Linden Lab owns Second Life, also known by the acronym SL. Linden Lab also owns Tilia, a newer company, which serves as a companion money services business for Second Life and other virtual worlds. Linden Lab has had many years of mastering the art of user anonymity. Indeed, one could put forward a compelling argument that at the time of the creation of Second Life in 2003, it undoubtedly offered innovative and disruptive solutions to the market in this area. It certainly cannot be argued that many of its innovations are being copied straight into metaverse systems. Virtual worlds are complex environments to get used to, and therefore the joining process has to be as simple as possible. The current method of signing up for Second Life requires the following steps. Step 1. every avatar must have a first and last name. The choice of the first name is yours, as long as it is unique. Compare this to picking your email handle within any email system. Step 2. You choose your username, though it must be unique within the system. Even if you prefer something like Joe10010, it is legitimate, as long as it is unique to that system. The username and the unique user identification number, or UUID as it is known, attached to that name, determine what you own and what will be in your inventory. You can change the screen name, we will get to the screen name in a moment, but the username cannot be changed, unless you pay a fee. However, your UUID will always remain the same. If you are a programmer, you are familiar with the concept and use of a UUID. You are required to enter your birth date. Not a name, nor your actual gender, nor where you really live. Just a birth date. You are not required to verify what answer you give to the birth date question. You are required to enter an email address, and verify that email address. There are 4 points to consider here. Point number 1. Most people do not tell the truth about their birth date. This is just a simple fact. Your birth date is required so that Second Life can determine if you are old enough to enter into their moderate and adult areas. These are called sims, which are short for simulators. They represent virtual landmasses. So what? Who tells the truth about their age? Well, consider you have a preteen or teen at home who knows simple arithmetic, and tells Second Life they are actually 21. Now, consider the fact that according to that birth date your child will get into all sorts of adult sims, which are exactly like going to an adult club in reality. Actually, virtual world adult sims may even be worse. So yes, there is a huge problem here, which still needs to be addressed. But to address it, the anonymity wall must be broken. The first commandment must be ripped up and thrown aside, if proof of age is required. A perplexing problem, to say the least. Point number 2. An individual used to virtual reality will always plan and create a new email for their avatars. Very few people will use their normal, everyday email address. Again, this is another layer of anonymity between the actual user and virtual worlds. Point number 3. Gender is determined by the body and clothes you decide to wear, and whom your profile says you are. And you compose your own profile. Though Second Life does initially ask what gender your avatar should be, it makes absolutely no difference once you enter the system. So even if you are a male, and now wish to be a female, if you have a gender-neutral name you can just switch. Or you can create an alt, by going through the entire sign-up process, which is all of 3 minutes. You can shape and clothe your avatar as a male, female, animal, or even an object. That lies at the heart of role-playing. Point number 4. There is no request for any factual identity information, nor to prove what you wrote is correct. Except, as we pointed out, the birth date, which can be fudged, and your email, which you must verify with an opt-in. That is all there is to it. We have now come across 3 more new terms. A username, a screen name, and a unique user identification number or UUID as it is known. You have a username and, in many virtual worlds, if you wish, a screen name. You will be known by your screen name, which you can change as often as you like. However, all purchases, ownership, inventory, and funds are attached to your UUID, which is attached to your username. Your screen name does not have any effect on these things, it is simply how other avatars may refer to you. Think of the screen name as your public persona, and your username as your system persona, and your UUID as the way the system keeps all your names and all that you own aligned in sync. Your IP is hidden and only known to the virtual world system company. There is no connection and no way of tracing you back to your real identity within the virtual world by another avatar. Well, almost no way. There is one way to breach this anonymity wall. paradoxically, it comes from the avatar themselves. Because it is not uncommon for avatars to become friends and feel safe enough to reveal who they really are to another avatar. This opens many doors and scenarios, some of which are not benign. Our podcast and video on split personalities in virtual reality discusses this in depth. However, it remains true that until you decide to transfer money into Second Life, or any virtual world, or take funds out, even Linden Lab cannot legally connect your real identity to your avatar, unless it is court-ordered to do so. Nothing we have said so far should come as a shock, or make anyone swivel their heads in disgust. It is all very straightforward and legitimate. Indeed, if you think about it, the system itself is geared to assuring the user that their anonymity wall cannot be breached. There is absolutely no difference between this method and signing up for an anonymous internet forum. It is highly recommended that one begins their virtual reality entry with someone familiar with virtual worlds. However, it is also unusual for someone in your real life to share with you that they are also an avatar in a role-playing virtual world. Thus, the conundrum. Also bear in mind, virtual worlds are not Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of the normative social networks. Role-playing and virtual worlds are not social media in the accepted method. Unless you are pursuing a specific business, you are not in a virtual world to gain followers, likes, or achieve the normative desires of those posting on social media. Second Life avatars do run many Flickr, Facebook, Discord, and Instagram pages and groups. But all these are connected to avatar names, not to physical identities. However, this ability to move between a virtual world and the web, seamlessly and simultaneously, is not something to ignore. We will come back to it later in our podcast. However, we have now established how you set up a virtual identity. You are now born again, free to become whoever and whatever you wish to become. But wait, there is still a great deal more to cover. And this is where it gets interesting and a bit complicated. This next section covers funding your virtual reality experiences. Please bear in mind this is not an in-depth discussion. If you want to understand the whole scenario in detail, we recommend to listen to our 9 Pillars of the Metaverse series, and especially the chapter on digital currencies. It is available in video or podcast. All funds brought into a virtual world such as Second Life and taken out of Second Life in real currency is done via Tilia, the other company owned by Linden Lab. Does this sound like a monopoly to you? Does it sound like a completely closed system with no competitors? It is, and leaves absolutely no holes open to disrupt it, unless you build your virtual world system to compete with Second Life. This is precisely what the metaverse is doing, and why cryptocurrency and NFTs have become such a hot topic in the metaverse, due to the ability to maintain complete anonymity. However, with cryptocurrencies we face different problems that require more ingenious solutions. But for the moment, let us stay with our example of Second Life, as it is indicative of many of the virtual worlds and role-playing games on the market today. If you transfer funds into a virtual world such as Second Life, you do so via a credit card or PayPal. The credit card company holds all your information, your authentic identity, your bank, and your credit line. We all know this. Tilia then picks up this information, takes the amount you requested from your credit card, and puts it into your Second Life account. Exactly what would happen if you purchased something on Amazon. If you purchase Linden's with that money, the Second Life virtual currency, the receipt does not come back with your actual name but your avatar name. Nowhere in any form do you get a receipt or acknowledgement with your actual name on it. Tilia sends you nothing, and there is no way to get an official receipt from them as they are only the transferring company. Go explain that to your accountant if you are doing business in a virtual world. What about the other way around? If you make money in a virtual world in the virtual currency, how do you transfer it to another currency? Suppose you want to transfer funds from the virtual currency of Linden's to a valued currency which is honored by your bank. In that case, you must give Tilia, remember also owned by Linden Lab, proof of identity, a tax number, or international evidence of your authentic identity, for tax purposes. However, unless you are one of the very few, making tens of thousands of real dollars in Second Life, this is of no real consequence. By the way, all this incurs fees. Both transferring money into and out of a virtual world. Fees from Tilia, fees from PayPal, if you chose to use it, and fees from Second Life. To put this in cryptocurrency terms, these are your gas fees. Up until this point, it all seems completely benign. An individual maintains a virtual identity in a virtual world. That makes total sense. It can be an enjoyable, fun, and wonderful experience that it was meant to be. The world is locked. Your authentic identity is safe. You are now free from all restraints, and can act out any dream or fantasy you ever had. You can roleplay 24 hours a day, if you wish to. After all, again, that is what a role-playing game is for. Virtual worlds are an exciting phenomenon. You can use your virtual identity with a certain sense of safety, that it will maintain your anonymity. Your virtual identity can open up dreams, allow you to explore your inner creativity, and even help others to support themselves. It also solves the privacy issue. The most critical point to note here is that a virtual identity only works when a real identity is behind it. In this last section of our podcast, on privacy and anonymity in the Metaverse and Virtual Worlds, we are going to discuss how the Anonymity Wall can be breached. For all those waiting for the Metaverse examples, this is geared specifically for them, as it gives a real example from the Metaverse. To be clear, this example uses cryptocurrency as a means of payment. So, the Anonymity Wall is not breached by the method of payment. We already have discussed the fact that breaching the Anonymity Wall in most virtual worlds will happen when avatars themselves decide to reveal personal information. Almost a paradoxical dilemma, as the virtual world does everything to protect your privacy and anonymity. In virtual worlds, it is usually impossible to purchase a physical object, as only virtual objects are for sale. One can put up a sign within a virtual world, which links to a website on the web. However, once an avatar clicks on that sign, a separate web browser will open up, and there is no connection between the virtual identity and your actual identity. All connection to the virtual world identity ends immediately when you are browsing on the web. Therefore, if one is allowed to offer physical objects for sale in a virtual world, there is still no ability to connect the two identities, those being the virtual identity with the actual identity. So now, let me give you a scenario. One which is about to happen with the Metaverse and the whole slew of virtual worlds. This scenario will break the mold of anonymity so carefully introduced by Linden Lab, the creators of Second Life, and followed faithfully throughout the 2 decades of virtual worlds and their operations. It will also cause us to confront even more ethical, business, and legal problems. The worst part is that we are so behind on privacy legislation that it is becoming impossible for legal and ethical systems to catch up to the Metaverse. You have an avatar, which you carefully designed and protected behind that wall of anonymity. No one knows who you are. Indeed, you could be talking to your next-door neighbor and never know it. You have given the minimal information required by the system to sign up. You have also created a new email for your virtual world identity. You may even use a VPN to mask your actual IP address. In simple terminology, you have taken every possible precaution you can think of to conceal your actual identity and information. So far, this all follows the rules of the Anonymity Wall. However, now you explore the Metaverse, a catch-all term defining a conglomeration of different companies using varying technologies. And now you find all your favorite companies selling their virtual wares. Nothing until this point breaks the anonymity wall. And you visit your favorite clothing or sneaker company that has a metaverse presence. This sneaker or clothing company has decided to offer 30% off their real, not virtual products if you buy them online in their virtual world. But, and this is critical here, only, and this bears repetition, only if you purchase them in the virtual world, in their virtual store. With your cryptocurrency. If you wish to purchase those same objects on the web, from the company's website, you will be charged full price, and you will have to pay with a credit card, not cryptocurrency. This is not unusual. We all know that many companies offer deep discounts if you purchase something through their apps. Not online via their website, but only through their mobile app. So, offering a special discount to buy a real object in a virtual world is not such a different idea. And let us not forget, a discount of 30% can be worth a lot of saved money. So, you decide to purchase that object. Either with funds in the virtual world which you have, or with cryptocurrency in the metaverse. At this point, the company still cannot trace your avatar back to your actual identity. One minor point you may have forgotten. A physical object must be delivered to you. It requires an address, phone number, and name. It cannot be delivered to an avatar name, as you have no way of proving when it arrives that you are the person who is supposed to receive the object. And even if you can use an avatar name, remember your address is an existing, tangible place. And because it is a physical object, it must be delivered to an actual destination. With that one purchase, the company you purchased your item from now knows the avatar is connected to a specific individual. Even if you followed all the anonymity rules and used cryptocurrency. And instantly, advertisements can be targeted to you within the virtual world due to that knowledge. Your avatar information and your actual information can be combined into one dataset. Once that is done, all the targeting you are used to on the web will also take place in a virtual world. And in the metaverse, which can act alone or in unison with other virtual worlds, this can mean any virtual world in the metaverse you travel to. Not just the store you purchased your item from. And just like that, all your careful planning has been destroyed with just one purchase. The anonymity wall is gone. And now, the only thing left for you to do is to create yet another alter personality and build another avatar. Yet, even doing that may not help in the long run. However effective you think you are at hiding your actual identity, it won't work for long. Sooner or later, you will be lured into a purchase of a real object. Even using cryptocurrency will not help you. Or enticed by a company with a metaverse presence to give them your actual details in a sign-up form. You have destroyed your anonymity wall the moment you make that purchase, which is precisely what the companies want you to do. Virtual worlds or web. In the end, it makes no difference. So, now we have covered privacy and anonymity. We have shown you how to build your anonymity wall. We have covered how the virtual worlds and the metaverse protect your anonymity. And most importantly, you now know, even if you follow all the rules and keep your actual identity to yourself, there is a simple way for the metaverse worlds to breach that anonymity wall. Be careful out there. Even it is all virtual, it is still up to you to protect yourself and your actual identity. Do not rely on the technology companies to do it for you. As we have shown, their business is information. And they will do anything and everything to get that information from you. A little paranoia is warranted here. Remember the saying, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't after you. Enjoy your virtual reality. Keep your information to yourself. And understand the possible consequences of everything you do. The 9 Pillars of the Metaverse video and podcast series was created by If What If, the company that combines virtual reality and artificial intelligence in education, consulting, courses, and development. Our motto: dream it, imagine it, create it. The possibilities are endless. You can find If What If on all the major social media networks or contact us at info@ifwhatif.com. This podcast is also available on most major podcast directories and on our YouTube and Vimeo channels in full-length video formats. Our videos, podcasts, and white papers are always free and bring you a wealth of information on artificial intelligence and virtual reality, including the metaverse. Don't forget to subscribe to the If What If channel on your favorite podcast directory or on YouTube and Vimeo. Please see the links in the description for all our social media channels and how to contact us. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment. It is greatly appreciated. Have an awesome day. If What If would like to thank all the Metaverse, Virtual World, and Second Life photographers involved in our projects. And to Poco, our resident Virtual World and Metaverse photographer, who scours the Metaverse to find the most incredible images and with her exceptional talent, turns them into works of art. All her work can be found at www.flickr.com/people/poco9. Thanks for use of her images goes to master photographer, Violetta Rain. Thanks for use of their images go to 3 girls in SL, Fenny, Liz, and Leandra. Thanks for use of her images goes to Yennefer, involved in many RPG, virtual world, and photography projects. Thanks also goes to Inara Pei and Miro, Second Life photographers, who graciously allow reuse of their Flickr photos. Links to all our photographers are in the description attached to this video. All other photos are taken from pixabay.com or unsplash.com and are free to use for commercial purposes.